sublimations. Okay, now the topic we have is separation based on sublimation. A solid that sublimes can be separated from others using this property. By others, he means the ones who do not sublime. Let's say we have a differentiating diagram at the bottom. Take a look. The mixture we have at the bottom of this whole boiling tube. Now, these are two different tubes, boiling tubes and test tube. Boiling tube has a bigger width, so much so that a test tube can fit right in between. So we have a boiling tube, we have a test tube fitted in. The test tube has a section, a delivery tube section from which the cold water is going out. There is also a delivery tube going in, which is properly corked in so that it doesn't overflow. All right. So cold water comes in from this end of the delivery tube, goes right all the way in. When it is filled up, it goes right the way out. All right. So we have inlet and outlet for cold water in the test tube. Cold water never goes to the boiling tube. It stays then in the test tube all the time. All right. The mixture we have at the bottom is ammonium chloride, the formula for which is NH4Cl. Now remember, when we were doing the topic of sublimation, we had four examples for substances that can sublime. The first one was iodine, the formula for which was I2. The second one was carbon dioxide, the formula for which was CO2. We also called it dry ice, right? The next one on the list was ammonium chloride, and the last one on the list was naphthalene. All right. These are the four examples that are scattered in different parts of the book for sublimation. And these are all four examples that we cater in your course. That's about it. All right. So let's erase all of them for sublimation. We're going to just stick with ammonium chloride for now. All right. No matter how careful I am, I always end up uh, erasing the formula. All right. So NH4Cl, ammonium chloride, sodium chloride, NaCl. All right. Now this melts, it has a melting point, but this one has a sublimation point, so this sublimes. So both of them are different. And that's what is the basis of entire separation. We're gonna heat it up. Since they're assuming the brown ones are ammonium chloride over here, and they're mentioning the same, so that means definitely the blue ones are sodium chloride. Although sodium chloride is not blue in color, but that's how it is shown over here. So let's assume sodium chloride is blue in color. It will have a melting point which would be much higher than the sublimation point of ammonium chloride. So once we're going to heat it up, the first one to sublime would be ammonium chloride. Now, sublime means this solid would convert into gas. The gas would rise up. As it would rise up, it would have to experience some cold end of this test tube. Now, these end of the test tube would be cold, just like a cold drink bottle or a glass of cold drink or a tin can of cold drink would something you would experience from it, that if you touch it from the outer end, you'll feel cold. So in a similar way, the outer end of this test tube would feel cold. So as soon as these hot vapors are going to experience this cold end of the test tube, they are immediately converted back into the solid. So much so, they convert it back in such a quick way that they stick to this test tube. So what do? We keep on heating, this keeps on subliming, keeps on getting stick to this whole test tube in. After some time, we take out the test tube, we scrape it off with some sharp object. You can do it with a scalpel, you can do it with a simple spoon, you may do it with a knife, you may do it with a pair of scissors. You can simply scrape this entire thing off. So how were we able to separate it? Ammonium chloride is the subliming substance over here. It would immediately be converted into gas. The gas is immediately converted back to solid as soon as we cool it up. So we were able to separate it from sodium chloride because nothing like that happens to sodium chloride. All right.
Okay, sir.
Good. Now, why does this not happen? We don't explain that in this part of the chapter, but for sodium chloride, the melting point is 801, which was even given on the previous table we just discussed. Now, 801 degrees centigrade is a very high temperature to reach. Much before than this temperature, the subliming point for ammonium chloride would be reached, so it would be converted into gas. And there you go. If the sublimation point is reached much before this melting point, you'll be able to successfully separate the ammonium chloride. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Any
Sir,
questions?
I want to ask one more thing that I was reading the notes of semi exam and I was doing the questions related to this. So they were written. It was written that the sublimation topic is now not really focused on like. I was going through the notes as well for the Save My Exam website, and it was written that the sublimation is now not the topic
Which is
which will come in
emphasizes
this.
upon for exams? Yeah, it never was actually. So that's why I do not pay much heed to this kind of topic. I just explain the whole thing in a few minutes so that student gets the idea and we just move on. So yeah, they are not of this much importance. Now, when we were doing these separation techniques, I hope you remember that we went through a total of 10 different separation techniques, right? We started off with decantation, then there was filtration, centrifugation, immiscible liquid separation with the help of separating funnel. Then there were differences in density, magnetic properties. Then we had a crystallization process for differences in solubilities and sublimation. Moving on to the last three and most important processes, simple distillation, fractional distillation, and paper chromatography. Now, I told you not all of these processes have the same emphasis in for exams, since some of them are more important processes than the other. So, yeah, you are going to go for preparing distillation or crystallization or filtration or paper chromatography in a far more imperative way than you're going to go for sublimation or decantation or centrifugation for that matter, right?
Jesus.
So, yeah, that's there. That's gonna happen. Some of them are more important than the others. Anything else?
No, sir, it's clear. Thank you.
Welcome.